All right. Hi guys. Hi students. Now, did you guys receive the seminar notes? It's very easy to recognize the seminar notes because you just open your notes and then on your top right, it will say Form 4 midterm seminar. So in this term seminar, in this turn, this time, right? In this round of seminar, we are doing revision. All right. Basically, every time seminar we also do revision. So it's for your revision of your midterm, right? So let me share the notes with you so you can see on the screen. Give me a second, very quick one. Now, and let me explain to you the plan of today. In today's lesson, we are going to I'm going to explain to you the exam format. Okay, so for the first, I think 10 to 15 minutes, allow me to explain the format to you, right? And give me a second, I'm sharing the screen. I don't know why I cannot. Let me share again. And then for the first like I said, for the first 10 to 15 minutes, I will explain to you the exam format, which means like the paper that you'll be sitting for, how many marks for each paper, and how many questions are there. All right. Now, and after that, I will teach you a type of questions. Oh, sorry, forgot to switch on the cam. Can you guys see me? Hello. Now, and after the 15 minutes, I will explain to you a type of questions, which is called essay questions. All right. So have your school teacher teach you guys how to do essay questions, like the format, the method? Now, I used to teach essay questions in normal class. But I found that it's more beneficial for me to teach you the essay question in this seminar. Okay, so that actually whether you are TTC student or whether you are not TTC students, oh yes, they teach you using the table method, right? But some school students they haven't learned from their teacher yet. Okay, some school teacher they haven't teach the method. Yes, it's called essay question, but you are going to use the table method, the point form method to answer the question. All right. And I will explain to you why is it called essay questions later. All right. But then don't worry, you don't have to write an essay. You just have to use the table method and answer in point form to get all the marks. Okay, so it's nothing hard lah. Yeah, without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let us together let me explain the exam format to you guys first. Now, first of all, I think just now I realized, right, you can go to the final page of your note, which is the answer for the objective questions there at page number 70. So the whole notes consists of 70 pages. And later I explain to you like how the whole notes work. Right? So at the back there's an empty space. We can do our discussion. Okay, so I will write down the discussion so you can kind of understand what I've explained. Yeah. So for physics paper, you guys have to understand. You guys will be sitting for 3 paper for physics, and not just physics. Actually, for each science subject, which means physics, bio, chemistry. We are talking about pure sciences except for the general science. But if you are here taking physics, then I assume you're not taking general science stuff. Yeah, so I'm talking about physics, bio, and chemistry. Each of these subject, you will be sitting for 3 paper. All right, so which we call them paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3 lah. And then, so let me explain to you step by step, one by one. For paper 1, it will be 40 objective questions. That means you get to choose the A, B, C, D one, objective, multiple choice questions. There are 40. So let us write down, let me write down for you. Now, you don't have to copy this down. I rather you pay attention to my explanation. Yeah, then later you can copy this down after the class. Okay, you can take a picture, then you copy after the class, right? And same goes to the question. Later, if you don't write anything in the question, right, it's okay. As long as you pay attention to the class, I think that's more than enough. Rather than you copy and you miss out things that I explained, right? So I think the best will be you just sit there and listen to me. But of course, when you feel tired, you can take up your pen and start copying some answers. So then that makes you that keeps you awake. Yeah. Now, yes, multiple choice question for paper 1, you will have 40 questions, and each question will be 1 mark, right? So that means you'll be getting 40 marks from the 40 questions, right? But do you guys know that actually the 1 mark for each question is not 1 mark? It is not 1 mark. Why? Because in order for one question, in order for that 1 mark to be exactly 1 mark, the whole paper has to be 100 marks. But the thing is, the whole paper, that means the whole physics paper, paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, together, this 3 paper has more than 100 marks. So that means the 40 marks, just like I say, right, one question, you get 1 mark, right? But the whole physics paper, there will be 155 marks. So your 1 mark is not exactly 1 mark, it's 1 over 155. Then you have to multiply back 100. So that you know in total how many marks are there in percentage. So 1 over 155, because like I said, all 3 paper after summing together, after adding all the 3 paper together, it will be 155 marks. And then just multiply by 100, then you will know in 100 marks, how many marks is there for 1 mark. You get what I mean? Over here, so I can put it here. So which is, just now in the morning, I already calculated, it is 0.645 marks. Which means for every 1 mark you get is actually 0.45, 0.645 marks. And that also happens to paper 2 and paper 3. Every mark you see is actually only 0.645 marks. Yeah. So out of that 155 marks, and it depends on how many marks you get, right? So for paper 2, it will have 100 marks in paper 2. Okay, let me check. Am I recording the class? Oh, yeah, luckily. Now, and yes, for paper 2, it consists of 100 marks over 11 questions. Now, but later I come back to paper 2 because today we are going to focus on paper 2, and as what we did all the time in the normal class. Or in the normal class, we also only focus on paper 2, right? Very rare that we will do paper 1 questions, very rare, but sometimes I will, but not 40 questions also, maybe just a bit. All right. And then for paper 3, we will do, there will only be 1 question. Okay, this one very straightforward. 1 questions only. And then it will be 15 marks. Okay, it will be 15 marks. So for paper 3, then I also have to ask you all, has your school teacher teach you how to do the paper 3? Because paper 3 also relies on the format. When you have to answer, you have to rely on the format. You have to answer correctly according to the format one. So has your teacher teach you how to answer the paper 3 yet? Now, if no, it's okay. I'm going to teach you, going to share with you this paper 3 method in normal class. So not in seminar. Okay, in seminar today, I'll focus on paper 2 questions because today is revision. So I mainly help you to do revision for the biggest part of your whole paper, 100 mark. It's basically more than paper 1 adding together with paper 3. Right now, paper 1 plus paper 3 only 55 marks. But paper 2 alone stands 100 marks already. Okay. So, and when I will be doing this paper 3 explanation in normal class, it will be 1 week before 27th of April. So if you look at your calendar, right, 27 to 1st of May, 27th of April, which is that over here. Can you see the calendar? 27th of April until the 1st of May, because 1st of May is the Friday, that Friday of that week. That week will be your physics exam already. Yeah, but for KL, if I'm not wrong, because the other day, some student in KL, they tell me that your physics exam, like I said, provided if your school is in KL, and if your school teacher is taking the government paper for you guys to do your exam, then 27th of April, that Monday, is basically physics. So 1 week before, which means 20 to 24 of April, that week in the normal class, I will teach you how to do the paper 3. Okay, so I will explain the format, and so you guys know how to do. Oh, your physics exam is on 13th. Is it? Your school is in Selangor or KL, which means next week. Today is 4th of April already. I mean, sorry, not 5th, 4th. Oh, 5th of April. Oh, Selangor. So let me see. Okay, then maybe I have to adjust a bit already. Luckily, you tell me. Okay, I'll quickly do a decision, and most likely, if that's so, then that means tomorrow. Oh, no wonder. Yeah. Selangor don't have kertas tiga. Okay, yes. Kertas tiga, paper 3. All right. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Paper 3, right? Not all state and not all school will be doing paper 3. Okay, because they find it unnecessary. But some school they will be doing paper 3. So schools in KL, they tell me finals will have, yes, at the end of the year. Finals, you have paper 3. So it's okay, I will still teach. Okay, then I stick back to my plan to teach you paper 3 on 20th to 24th. That week depends on which day you attend my class. Okay, and I know that some of you might be new student. If you are new student, because you might be joining our class now because of a friend telling you to join this class, because you are getting the free class now, right? And do you guys know that? And after this class, you can still get 4 more lessons. That means one whole month. 1 month consists of 4 weeks, right? So you can still join my class for 4 weeks after today's lesson. Okay, that means you can join 4 weeks of normal class. But those who are not new student, don't worry. You already last time you already get this promotion before. Okay, when you first join TTC, I believe you get the 4 weeks of free class one. So now it's just I mean, like the promotion is for the new students only lah. Okay, so and okay, yes, I will be teaching that on 20th to 24th which is 1 week before the KL paper. Okay, because KL paper they'll be doing paper 3. And even if you're not taking paper 3, you can still learn first. So later, because in the final you anyhow you're still going to use it. Okay, so which is and also you can write down paper 1, right? I mean, sorry, paper 1. Paper 3, right? That one question will be basically an experiment question. That means you have to do experiment one. And according to what I know, I cannot say for sure I'm just saying, I'm telling this based on what I heard. So if it's wrong, then don't come and find me. I am not responsible for any misunderstanding or misinformation. I don't want to take any responsibility, but I'm just going to share with you. This is what I heard. So better you go and study if your school is in KL. Now, the experiment in the KL paper, this time they say they will be doing the pendulum experiment. Then remember previously, last month, when I teach you, I mean, actually not last month, just this month. Few weeks ago, when I first teach you chapter 1, because we just entered chapter 1 few weeks ago, because we first started the whole lesson, the whole syllabus from chapter 2 in normal class. Then at that time we discussed how does the length of the pendulum, right, the string that is holding the pendulum, affect the time taken for the pendulum to make one complete swing, which we call it the period of the swing, right, the period of oscillations. So when you are using a longer length of the pendulum thread, the pendulum string, the time taken for the string to oscillate one time becomes longer. Increase, and then you have to plot the graph, and then after plotting the graph, you will realize that the relationship between the length and the period, they are directly proportional, right? So just some information to remind you, to help you to recap a bit of what we did a few weeks ago. Okay, but like I said, the highlight for today, right, is for paper 2. Now, paper 2, there will be 11 questions, okay, in SPM format. which means if your exam is a full flat format, then there was supposed to be 11 questions in your paper 2. But I don't think so. This year, I mean this term, especially this term, midterm, because it's your first term exam, right? Your first time exam, I don't think they'll be giving you 11 questions. They will only be giving you 10 questions. But let me explain to you the SPM format lah. Okay, so that you understand how SPM question ask questions. Now, like I said, I will be focusing on paper 2 today, just to let you all know, okay, regardless whether you know or not, I'm just going to share with you. Paper 2 consists of 3 sections. So that physics consists of 3 paper 2 consists of 3 sections, which is section A, section B, and section C across the 11 questions. Yeah, and section A consists of 8 questions. So mainly all the questions come from section A. But then section A don't carry much marks. I mean, yes, it carry quite a lot of marks, but over 8 questions. So it's like from question number 1 until question number 8. And each question, they don't carry much marks. So one question, I mean, they carry different marks one. For like example, first question, it will consist of 4 marks. Second question, it will consist of 5 marks. But I don't know whether your school exam will follow this format or not. But this is definitely the SPM format. That means next year, when you sit for SPM, this will be the format. Okay, so 4, 5, 6 means the first question 4 marks, second question 5 marks, third question 6 marks. Okay, hey, by the way, this is the first time I explain this to you, and it will be the last time. Even until next year SPM seminar, I won't be explaining this anymore because SPM seminar is a paid seminar. You have to pay one. Also, if it's a paid seminar, I don't want to waste time explaining this anymore. This time is my first time explaining this and the last time. And some more because this is the free seminar. So I do you a favor explaining how every question works. Okay, so it will be the last time. So pay attention. So and then there will be 5 questions because total 8 questions, right? 5 questions and each of them consists of 9 marks. Okay, and most of the question is the question you see that we did together in the normal class. Like for example, if I'm not sure whether you remember, you can recall or not, sometimes we do these kind of questions where the question asks you to compare one, right? They ask you to compare 2 diagrams and then which one bigger, which one smaller, which one higher, which one lower. And then after that, they ask you to relate relationship and then relate with physics concept or physics principle. But you pay attention to the lesson in the normal class, you will see all these are the questions from question number 1 to question number 8, which means section A questions. Okay, but we are not going to focus on that because in normal class, we usually do this already. So today we do something special, like I said, the section B and the section C question. So, but altogether, it should give you 60 marks, right? And just like I say, right, paper 2 consists of 100 marks. So where is the another 40 marks? So the another 40 marks come from section B and section C. For section B and section C, you just have to do 1 question each. But there are total 11 questions, right? So over here, for question B consists of question number 9 and question number 10. Question 9 and 10. So I write a slash instead of a dash. Dash means like from question number 1 until question number 8. You see the dash means all the question you have to do. But when I write slash means you only have to pick 1 questions to do. So either you do question number 9 or you do question number 10. In SPM format, each of these questions will be either 1 from 4 and then the another one will be definitely from 5 1. So 1 from 1 form. But then since you guys are now only at form 4, and I don't think they will give you 2 from 4 questions because another reason is because the exam scope this time is only until chapter 2. Right now, your scope, your exam chapters, it will be basically chapter 1, chapter 2, not even chapter 3 though. Right? So I don't think they will give you 2 questions to pick, right? And because this time is not a full flat SPM format questions, so your finals will be because your finals will have paper 3, and then you'll be basically tested all the way from chapter 1 until the last chapter, most probably. And even if not, right, it will be until chapter 5. Your form 4 only consists of 6 chapters for physics. So I assume this time they will ask you to, because this year school starts earlier so I believe this year finals your teacher will teach until the end, until chapter 6, and then the finals will be testing you from chapter 1 to chapter 6 which is what happened last time, because now the Minister of Education, they are trying to adjust the time back to before COVID. Remember, pre-COVID that time, before COVID that time, actually in my times my time was before COVID. Okay, because I was graduated long time ago So, but then last time our lesson is from chapter 1 until the last. Last time we only got 5 chapter, but now you guys have 6 chapter, because last time our wave is in form 5 one. Now they move wave to form 4, and then they add another chapter at form 5 the quantum physics. So you got one extra topic compared to last time when I was in form 5. Okay, so but anyway, so like I said, this time I don't think they will give you 2 questions to pick. And in SPM, it will be either one from 4, and then either one, that means either if question number 10 is from 4, then the another one confirm from 5 one. So it can be question number 9 from 4, question number 10 from 5. Or it can be question number 10 from 4, question number 9 from 5. The other way round, then you pick them. So which one question easier? Okay, good question. Which one easier? It depends. Some students, they are stronger in form 4 chapters, then you pick the form 4 one. If you are stronger in the form 5 chapters, then pick the form 5 one. And sometimes it also has to depend on the difficulty of the questions, because how they ask the questions, they ask differently. They ask the question differently. So it has to depend on the difficulty also. Choose the easier one. Okay, choose the one that is that you are more confident with. Right? So no picking this time. And then the last one, in section C, there will be a compulsory question. So question number 11 is the compulsory one in SPM. But same thing, I believe this time they give you 2 compulsory questions. Question number 9, and then this one, question number 10 in section C, because no question number 10 for you to pick. Also, question number 10, it will go to section C. So both of these questions you must do. All right, and then all of these questions are in section B and section C. Each of them consists of 20 marks. Okay, I'm going to write down 20 marks. One question, 20 marks. One question, 20 marks. And then in that 20 marks, right, there will be 10 marks coming from essay question, which is the one that I will be going to explain later to you. Okay, so there will be 10 marks coming from essay question. So 10. So the first 10 marks comes from, maybe the question will give you some question. Later I'll show you some example. They will ask you definition, explanation. So basically they focus on explanation and calculations. Basically everything, just like the section A questions. Very subjective one. Can be the objective, can be the asking for definition question, explain for principle question, can be calculations. So for the first 10 marks Then after that, another 10 marks, it will be the essay questions. Okay, let me write down here. And then the 10 marks here is going to be the essay questions. Like this. Essay Okay, just put it here. Now, so how are we going to do essay question is what we are going to focus on. But at the same time, I won't just be doing essay questions. I will also do some other questions for the first 10 marks with you guys. All right. So that's pretty much about what I want to explain here. Any questions before I start explaining the question? No, I think this is quite well structured already so I want to let you all know. So that's why I explained this. I took some time to explain this to you Okay, now if you have no question, then in today's lesson, I would like to start the question with the momentum questions. Because the momentum questions the essay is quite hot. I say hot means it's not the high order thinking skill question. Quite hot means very often the question is asked in the first term exam. And if you ask how I know, right, it's because I've been teaching physics for I don't know how many years. For full time, I think 5 years already. But including the part time, I think more than 10 years. So throughout all these years, every time when we look at, because tutors, we will look at the papers we will look at student papers. When students share with us, we see. So every year, the first term, the questions cannot be, it's always the same one, especially the first term. Because like I said, first term are always either chapter 1 until chapter 2, or even at most, they will go up to chapter 3 only. So the things that they can ask is not much. They cannot ask too much of things one, because first term is in like now it's April, right? April is just 4 months from the school starts, right? We start our school during January. I think even mid-January, so it's like about 3 months from the school starts. So they don't really teach anything. I mean, they don't teach much of the things. So that's why they don't really have things to ask for. Okay. But we also give you many questions in these notes. And also just now I say I want to explain to you, right? You can go to the front. Page number 1 until 4 is the short notes for everything you need to know for these notes. I mean, for every questions that you need to know, things that you need to know is in page number 1 until page number 4. Okay, basically it's all the short notes lah. You can go home and have a read, right, on your own, because I am not going to waste time reading notes to you. Okay, reading you can read yourself, right? But explanation requires me to explain to you. So I do something that you cannot do at home lah. Yeah, and on page number 5 until 25, they are basically random questions. Question 1 on page number 5, you can see, until page number 25, they are just random questions. You can go all the way until page number 25. But starting from page number 26, you can see is another section of question. Then this one, last page already, page number 25, and then page number 26. Starting here, it will be basically also actually random questions lah. I cannot say anything, but basically all these questions is very important. So if you can start doing these exam questions, and especially if your exam is near already, just now you told me what day on 13 so you only got 1 more week. So try to spend as much question as you can in this midterm exam revision questions here, because all these are the forecast questions that we foresee that will be asked in your upcoming exam. Okay, and answers by today, later afternoon, I think we already posted. I mean, I'm not sure whether I posted or not. I think last night I already posted. I already sent to the admin, so the admin will help me to upload in the official website there. So how do you guys join this seminar? If I'm not wrong, you should be joining this seminar using a link, right? And where do you get the link? Some of you join the link, join this class using a link from WhatsApp. Maybe the receptionist send you the link, right? Or from the WhatsApp group. Yeah, from the link tree at our official website, right? TTC Education there. So at the link tree there's a link actually, which is where you can get your notes here. And in that notes link, we already upload the answer there. So you can actually check your answer after you do, okay? So and any questions that you don't understand after looking at the answer, you don't understand why the answer is like that, then you can ask me. Okay, sometimes it can be the answer is wrong one. So if you find it suspicious, like you are quite confident that this answer is gonna be, let's say objective A, but then the answer tells you this is B, then you can ask me after trying to understand, you still don't understand why the question answer tells you that the answer is B, you can ask me in WhatsApp. Okay, that is what you're supposed to do lah. But you check your answer first. Okay, because if everyone asks me how to do, then so how to do is not what you're supposed to ask. You are supposed to ask me like why the answer is like this, because you have to check the answer first. So after you look at the answer, you can try to find out why the answer is like that. But if you really cannot find out why the answer is like that, then that's when you find me. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, let's go to the questions that we are going to discuss today now. So today we are going to do this question number 6. I've picked this question number 6 on page number 17. Question number 6 on page number 17. Let me read the question for you. The question says, diagram 11.1 shows a plane, an aeroplane is moving in the air. So the diagram, and then below the diagram, the question continues to say, the plane moves forward due to the principle of conservation of momentum. that moves forward due to the principle of conservation of momentum. So do you guys still remember this principle? In this principle, it is actually stated by Newton, and Newton stated that when an object produces a backward momentum, which is what the propeller, okay, the turbine of the engine is doing. So the turbine of the engine will be propelling air backwards. And because air particles has mass, and when it is exhaust backward, it will be moving with a velocity. Right or not? So the gas particle that has mass move backward with a velocity, m times v gives you the momentum. Remember? So when the gas expel backwards, produce backward momentum, and according to the principle of conservation of momentum, the plane will get a same amount of forward momentum. So the momentum produced backward, right, will be basically the amount of momentum produced on the aeroplane, causing it to move forward. Right? So that's basically the principle of conservation of momentum. Oh, typo. It's not OOF, it's just OF. All right. And do you guys still remember what is the type of collision that is occurring here? The type of collision that is occurring here is the explosion, called explosion. Remember, there are three types of collision. One is called elastic collision, second one, inelastic collision, and the third one, we have explosion. So the explosion is not the bomb explosion, right? Previously in the normal class, I told you before, it's not the bomb explosion. The explosion that we are talking about, right, is a type of collision where it tells you, in this collision, it tells you the forward momentum is actually gained from the backward momentum. So when the momentum is produced in a certain direction, the another opposite direction gets the same amount of momentum. That's basically what explosion tries to tell you. So this question, you can also do this. It's a very good habit. You write down every question, you try to understand. After looking at the question, right, try to understand this question is from which subtopic. So this question is from the subtopic momentum, and not only momentum, because in momentum we learn about three types of collision, right? So this question is related to explosion one. All right. And again, it's not the bomb explosion, it's how the momentum is being produced, that collision, okay, the type of collision called explosion. All right. So then look at question number one. Question asks you to state the principle of conservation of momentum. So basically what is stated in that principle, every time when you explain the meaning or the definition of a term, just repeat the term first. So to make the sentence more complete. The principle of conservation of momentum is, stated that, or you can say states that. Now, remember when you explain, this one don't write first. Basically, a simple version will be, principle of conservation of momentum states that the momentum before and after a collision is always conserved. Right? This one don't copy first because I'm writing a wrong answer. I mean a not complete answer. This one, incomplete one. Okay? So to make it more complete, right, you have to add in the condition. So do you guys know in this principle of conservation of momentum, it has a condition one. So in order for the momentum to be conserved, there's a condition. So the condition is, you should say this before you start explaining that starting from here, the momentum before and after collision is always conserved. So before that, you should say that the principle of conservation of momentum states that in an enclosed system, so system is also known as the environment. That means the object, the environment of the object. For example, like the jet engine, you see the diagram below that. So in an enclosed system means you shouldn't have any external force go and catch out the object one. So the object has to be not being interfered by the outer external factor. Okay, so in an enclosed system, and then you say, without any external force acting on the system, like I said, the system means the environment of the object. So then, then only you start explaining the conservation of momentum. The momentum is always conserved before and after the collision. Okay, so see, this is a very complete explanation for the principle. Before you explain what is going on, the momentum before and after is always conserved, because this is the highlight, right? But before I start explaining, I also tell the condition. So when the question asks you to explain the principle alone, right, you have to be as specific as possible. You can see this in your textbook and also your notes one. In an enclosed system and without, this one, the sequence is wrong. And without external force acting on the system, not without N. And without external force acting on the system, that means no other external factor is interfering the object, then only the momentum can be conserved. Is that clear? No external force acting on the system is also a keyword actually to explain the principle of conservation of momentum. Are we good? Now, if you're okay, then if you've got any question, just ask lah, and it's okay if, let's say, after 5 minutes, you suddenly thought of the previous question you want to ask. Then just tell me lah. Just tell me that in this question 6, part 1, 6A1, anything you don't understand, you just let me know lah. So and now I'll go back and explain to you on pattern one more time. Okay. Then you go to 6A2. I think they miss out the A lah. This question is supposed to be question A1. Question A1, then A2 lor. So because the next question will be question B, then question B. So suppose the one on top should be question section A lor, section A1, A2. Now for A2, question says, in the diagram 11.2 below, it shows a structure of a jet engine. That means the engine of an aeroplane. Now this is the whole structure inside the engine, okay, of the aeroplane. Or we call it the whole thing as turbine most of the time, but turbine is actually the structure inside, right? And can you see the whole diagram? Every part is labeled. Every part are labeled correctly. Nicely for you already. Now, those parts you should be appreciating the label nicely for you, because you can use those keywords that they label for you, okay, for those parts of the jet engine. So like for example, you can highlight. Okay, you can highlight some of the important keywords here. I'm going to tell you which one is important, which one is not. Propeller is very important because later we are going to use this word. Propeller is basically the fan blade. The fan blade in front of the engine, right? And then we are going to use this word also, combustion chamber. Combustion chamber is basically a space inside the engine for us to combust the fuel, right? The aeroplane fuel. We use different fuel in aeroplane from cars. There are different ones. Cars use car fuel. We use petroleum. And then later I will tell you, we will discuss together what fuel does the jet engine use. Right? And then the another two will be nozzle and hot gas. Nozzle is basically the opening at the back. The opening is called nozzle. Okay, where you allow the hot gas to be exhausted out of the jet engine. Okay, other than that, they are not really important. To explain that, because at the bottom, you see the question says, explain the working principle of the jet engine. In order to explain the working principle, you are going to use these 4 keywords. Okay, I think you need to. Okay, and the others, we don't use one. Okay. So all this come from experience. You do more, then you will know which one is important and which one is not. Because you might ask, how do I know whether which one is important? Like I say, it's from experience. You have to do more questions. So that's why we do together. I explain to you. So now after I explain, you do one time, you remember. Okay. So now I think this question we did it in the normal class before, but like I said, because today is a revision class. Right now we are doing revision together. So of course the questions are mostly the question we did. Mostly the question that we are going to do today is a question we did before, except the essay questions. But actually question B is the essay question. But I have to build up the rapport first. Okay, starting from I show you how the question works. So at first they ask you just now they ask you to explain the meaning of conservation of momentum principle. Then now they ask you to explain how the jet engine works, right? The working principle. So this is how it works. First, what happened? First, the fuel right now in the combustion chamber is combusted. Right now, you have to burn the fuel, right, for the jet engine. And do you guys know why we need to burn the fuel in jet engine? It's because we want to produce hot gases. See, hot gases we want to produce large amount of gas particles. But where do we get those gas particles? From combustions. Because I believe you learned about this before in even in primary school. Now, I'm sure your teacher tell you that we cannot do open burning in the public. Right now, you cannot burn rubbish. Why? Because if you combust rubbish in open public, what happens? It produces smoke, of course, but at the same time, those smoke consists of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, which is bad for us. And yes, in the jet engine, we want to combust the fuel to get carbon dioxide particles, and so those get the gas particles are, I just now told you, right, gas particle, they consist of mass one. So when the jet engine produce large amount of gases, and we expel those gases at high speed. So, and again, gas particle has mass, and when they are expelled at high speed, mass times velocity gives you momentum. So the momentum will be, the backward momentum will be produced backward on the jet engine. So when the jet engine produces a backward momentum, the jet engine also gains a forward momentum. So that's what we want, right? So the fuel in the combustion chamber is combusted, and then you see an explosion occurs. Now, this explosion, I've explained many times, it's not the bomb explosion. Is that basically what we explained just now? Backward momentum produce, then forward produce a forward momentum. So one backward, one forward. So causing the jet engine to move forward. Okay, so that's basically the explosion that we are talking about. So the fuel in the combustion chamber is combusted and explosion occurs. Now, when you explain about the explosion, you get the 1 mark. Now, then secondly, the second point, it comes from how you produce the backward momentum, right? Because you say explosion will occur, right? So explosion means the forward momentum is produced by the backward momentum. So of course you have to tell how the backward momentum is produced. So over here we say there will be large amount of gases, large amount or large masses also can. If you want to be more specific, you can say this: large masses of hot gases is exhausted, right? Or you can say it is exhaust from the nozzle at the back of the jet engine, right? At the back of the jet engine, the hot gases is exhaust out from the nozzle at high velocity. See, I have mentioned two keywords here. One is large masses, and another one is high velocity. So the large masses of the hot gases expelled at high velocity, producing a large backward momentum. I say, your focus is to explain how the large backward momentum is produced. Right not? And then do you remember this? Now, usually, student likes to write after backward momentum, then the student will say, oh, then the forward momentum is produced on the engine. But which is wrong, okay? I mean, not to say it's wrong, but it's not complete, because the question is supposed to be 4 marks. But if you write after backward momentum, then immediately you write forward momentum, then you miss out 1 mark. So this is the common mistake. Then I say a lot of times, or you can say therefore, a lot of times, this is the mistake student makes. Therefore, a large forward momentum is produced on the jet engine. And don't copy this, because like I said, this is mistake one. This is a mistake. Okay, common mistake made by students. But even though you write this, right, you will still get 3 marks. It's just that you don't get the final mark, right? So how do we get the final mark? Then that time I told you before, you are saying this as if you found out this principle, right? Now you say a backward momentum is produced, then it produces a forward momentum. But is this principle found by you? You don't find out this principle yourself, right? Now this principle is found by Newton, so we are just learning the principle and we are applying the principle that found by Newton, right? Not. So we have to give credits to people, right? You have to give credit and say according to the principle, right? Not that found by the Newton, but you don't have to mention about Newton, just mention about the name of the principle. So according to the principle of conservation of momentum, right, comma, then now this time, same thing. We are going to explain the principle of conservation of momentum, but we don't have to explain like what we did just now. See, just now that one is a very complete one. But for this one, you can just straight to the point, just explain what is the main point of the conservation of momentum principle. Okay, so then very simple. Momentum is always conserved. That's it. So when you say this, momentum is always conserved, that means, like I said, forward momentum produced, then gets a backward momentum. Sorry, when the backward momentum is produced, you get the forward momentum. Okay, so that's the meaning of conservation of momentum. Momentum is always conserved, and that's why a large forward momentum is produced on the jet engine due to the backward momentum. Okay, so 4 marks. Okay, is that clear? So don't miss out the that is one according part. Okay, the giving credit part. You have to give credits to people who found this principle. Okay, any questions? So 4 marks from here. Then after that, after we are done with this one, then is the highlight of the day. So now in question B, we are going to look at essay questions. Like I said, this is the highlight already, the important part for today. So the question B says, the jet engine are used to move the plane forward, and you are required to study the specification. Specification means the characteristic of the jet engine as shown in the table 11 to make sure that the plane can function more efficiently. Now, so they want you to treat yourself as an expert. So this is what you have to do. Think and imagine yourself as an expert. Then you have to study the characteristic of the jet engine, then study them, and you have to modify them. So pick the best characteristic of the jet engine so that the plane can function more efficiently by looking at the table 11. Now, here comes the essay question. So in essay question, you are going to see like this, a table with characteristic, and also they give you the description of the characteristic. Like for example, the diameter, they ask you whether you want to pick a big one or small one. So they will give you the characteristic, right? The characteristic of the parts, whether the parts, you want it to be big or small. So they will give you choices. But this is one type of essay. The another type of essay, which is what we are going to do later. So today, like I said, we will do two essay questions, but not just two, not just only 2 essay questions. We will do the whole structural questions, including the essay questions. So 2, right? So, and for here, for this question, this question gives you choice, right? Some question, they don't give you the choice one. They only tell you what aspect to study. I mean, what aspect, that means what characteristic, what part they want you to modify, but the characteristic of the parts, you have to think yourself, whether you want it to be big, small. But it's very simple, even they don't give you the big or small, right? You can think of yourself one, right now. Now, and later we'll look at the table together. Let's finish the question first. So the question says, then you have to explain the suitability, means you have to choose the suitability for each aspect. That means each part of the jet engine, you have to choose some good characteristic for it. And you have to explain every choice you make. So like for example, just now we discussed, right? The diameter of nozzle, they give you 2 choices. Either you choose it to be big or either you can choose it to be small. But no matter what choice you make, right, you have to explain your choice. Okay, why do you choose the diameter of the nozzle to be big or small? But of course, it has a fixed answer one. So it's not an open, unended question. So it's like you cannot say, oh, big, then you explain, small, you explain, you both get the marks. No, there's a fixed answer one. Okay, and in fact, for diameter of nozzle, you have to pick it to be small. Okay, as small as possible. And then you go back to the question. Later that one will continue to explain. Now then the question says, and then later the last part of the question, you have to determine the most suitable design of the jet engine. Determine the most suitable means you have to pick which jet engine is the best jet engine. So can you see in this table, there are the 5 columns, right? And 5 rows. Rows is horizontal one, 5 rows. So let's look at the first column first. Can you see the first column? Over here, the first column tells you the engine, the jet engine design. You have 4 different jet engine design, J, K, or the M. You can think it as 4 different brands. Like for example, today you want to buy a shoe. So when you want to buy a shoe, you will look at different brands. Like for example, Nike, Adidas, and then New Balance, Essex. So you look at different brand. But you won't just buy a shoe because you want to buy the brand. That's actually very bad. You should do some study, like you have to study the characteristic of each shoe. Then only in the end, you pick the brand, right? You pick which brand you want, right? Like also, for example, if you want to buy handphone, also the same. If let's say if money is not an issue, when you want to pick a phone, so most of you will say, oh, let's say some of you might say, when I buy a phone, I want the camera to be good. I want the phone to be what else? To have a high refresh rate. Okay, so that the screen is not lag. What else? Let's say I want a high storage one. I want this and that characteristic. Okay, so this and that. Then after good characteristic, after you find out all the characteristic, you will pick the phone based on the characteristic you pick, right? Like I said, let's say you want if you want to have a phone that can zoom in 100 times, then you go for Samsung, because Samsung can zoom in 100 times. So when you go to concert, you can record the concert, you can record the video of the concert from very far away. But then iPhone cannot, because iPhone can only zoom in to up to 50 times only. So not as big as Samsung. So that's why some people they pick Samsung, some people they pick Apple iPhones, and some people pick Honor, Huawei, Xiaomi. Right, not Xiaomi. What else? And there are many brands there. So you don't just pick a brand because of the brand. You pick the brand because of the characteristic of the phone, right? And if you're picking the phone based on the brand or any of the choice in your life, you just pick on the brand, that means you are very superficial, right? Very materialistic, very superficial. So you need a reason to support your choice. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say. You have to pick the correct characteristic, the good characteristic for the jet engine. Then in the end, only you pick which jet engine you want. All right. So for example, over here, we are going to discuss, like I said, the first column is the jet engine, four different jet engine, J, K, L, M. And then the second column here, can you see? Second column is basically the parts. Okay, just now we look at the engine, there's a part called nozzle, right? So, and then they want you to pick the correct characteristic for the part, which is the diameter. So you have to pick one. Later you have to think whether you want it to be small or big. But just now I told you, the diameter of the nozzle, we want it to be small. But I will explain to you why also. And at the same time, I want you to see how this is how we answer the essay question. Later when I show you the answer, when I write the answer together with you. Now, then the second one is the size of the propeller. Then just like I said, propeller is the fan blade. So over here, the parts that the question want you to choose is to modify, to refine, so to make it better. So it's the fan blade. So the fan blade, should you choose a big size or a small size fan blade? So later we pick together. And then the the third column is the type of fuel you have to pick for the jet engine. Fourth column is the size of the combustion chamber. So the part there, remember just now I said combustion chamber is the part inside the engine where it is a volume, an empty space for the engine to burn the fuel. Okay, so the part, whether you want it to be big or small, you have to pick later. Okay, now, and after that, you can understand what is going on in the table, right? After that, can you see at the bottom of the table, there is another table. Below this table, there's another table. Now, this table is what we call as the answering table. That means you have to put your answer here. But let me tell you what, in exam, you will not have this table. But to save your time, and also we show you how this is how this is how you should draw your table. Okay, so when you draw your table, let me give you an advice. You start with drawing the horizontal line on top first. Okay, a long line across your answering space. And then in the middle, or you can also draw the middle line, right, slightly towards the left side. Why? Because the left side is where you write your characteristic. And usually the characteristic, right, is not that long one. And for explanation here, or later on the right column, can you see there are two columns? So one column, we will write the answers for our choice to make for each part in the jet engine. Characteristic, or you can follow. The question says aspect, then you write aspect there. Choose the suitability of each aspect, right? Aspect means characteristic. the characteristic of each part in the jet engine. We have 4 parts here, right now. The nozzle, propeller, combustion chamber, and then another one is the fuel, the fuel we choose. Aspect, and then for every choice you make for the aspect, for the parts of the jet engine, you have to give a reason. So on the column, right, in the column of the right hand side there, we will write down our reasons. Okay, and then over here, like I said just now, when you start drawing this table, you can start with drawing a horizontal line. That means the roof of the table, on the peak, the top of the table. And then after that, draw 3 vertical line like this, vertical line. And that's how you should start. Why? After you write down your answer, then you cover another horizontal line. So you write your answer later. After you write, now, and I say you draw like this because sometimes your answer will be very long. So if your answer is very long, then after you finish your answer, only you do a boundary lah. Or you draw another boundary line. So for you to write another next answer, if your answer is too long lah. But now over here, we already draw the line for you, so it's fixed already. Right now, what if later your word is too big, right now, then you cannot change anymore, right now. So, and when you draw this table, please use pencil so you can erase. And don't go and draw the last horizontal line, okay? Because like I said, if let's say not enough space, you can still increase the length of this line, right now, and then continue like that until the end, until you finish all the question. Only you draw the final horizontal line to close the table. You understand what I mean? So always leave the bottom empty until you finish the question. Only you draw the final horizontal line. That will save you a lot of time. If you go and draw the final horizontal line, then after you finish and you realize, hey, not enough space, then you have to go and erase this part again and then continue to write. Then only in the end you cover again one more time. So that saves you, that wastes you a bit of time already. Okay, so this is my advice but of course you can also think of any way you can save time as long as you can save time. Okay, because in your exam you don't have all the time in the world. You only got 2 hours and 15 minutes to answer 11 questions. So you can divide and see how long you should take. So 2 hours, see, if 2 hours and 15 minutes is how many minutes? It's 135 minutes. In that 135 minutes, you have to do 11 questions. That means each questions, you have to use only 12 minutes, 12.2 minutes. That means 12 minutes and less than 30 seconds, about 12 minutes. So 12 minutes, you have to finish one question. And if you're using more than that, that means you have to sacrifice the time for other questions. So the other questions, you have to do it even faster already. Of course, I know just now I told you, right? Question number 1 until 8, they are relatively shorter, okay? Because the marks, 4 marks only, just now I said at the back there, question number 1, 4 marks only. So that one, of course, you don't use 12 minutes, you don't have to use 12 minutes. Okay, so if you can do the question, you can finish the question in a shorter time, then you give more time to the next question, right? So anyway, this is how you should answer. You just have to write your answer in point form. Okay? For like example, the first one, the diameter of the nozzle, right? This one is actually in BM. Nozel is BM. Nozzle supposed to be Nozzle for English, and supposed to be nozzle diameter. Okay, instead of diameter of nozzle. If you want to write diameter first, then in English you should write diameter of nozzle. So it's supposed to be nozzle diameter. And nozzle diameter, just like I told you, right? The right peak, the right characteristic for the good characteristic for diameter of nozzle should be small. And then you just follow small nozzle diameter. Full stop. Done. See, it's just a point form, right? If it's a complete sentence, this is not considered as a complete sentence. If it's a complete sentence, you should write the nozzle of the diameter must be small, like that. That is considered as a complete sentence, right now. But I'm just writing small. I'm just writing small nozzle diameter. That's it. 3 words, you get 1 mark, right? It's actually a point form and nowadays you're allowed to do this already. Last time cannot one. So that's why it's called essay question. Last time I mean, essay questions, you really have to write an essay one. You have to write passage one. But nowadays, we don't need anymore. Later, I'll explain to you why no need anymore. And again, why is it called an essay questions lah? Okay, after we finish this question. And then, like I said, for every pick of the characteristic of parts you choose, you have to give reason. So why do we pick the diameter of the nozzle of the jet engine to be small? Now that's because it has the same theory as have you guys tried playing with your water hose before in the toilet, or let's say in the garden or out there anywhere, when you see water flowing out from the water hose, and you go and pinch the nozzle of the water hose. Have you tried that before? Pinching the nozzle of the water hose to make the water hose become smaller. And then what happens? When you pinch it, the water flows out faster, right? So that basically happens to the nozzle of the engine also. When the engine nozzle is smaller, there will be the air flows out from the nozzle a bit faster. So, and the reason why we want the air to expel faster, let's see, is because that just now we discussed, right? The nozzle expel the gas, and because gas particle has mass, expel with a velocity. And if you make the nozzle become smaller, the velocity of air particles flowing out will be faster. And if the speed is faster, the momentum becomes faster. The momentum don't become faster. The momentum becomes greater. And if the momentum produced backward becomes greater, according to the principle of conservation of momentum, larger backward momentum gives the engine a larger forward momentum. So then that's how the jet is able to move faster, right? That's how the aeroplane is able to move faster. So that's why over here, but of course, you don't have to explain all the points one. Just short and simple, because no matter how many points you explain, as long as you hit 1 point, you get the marks already. So and sometimes teacher will say, if you go and tembak all the points, they don't give you the marks one, because they say you're just goreng. You're just there to try your luck. Or you write a lot of points to try your luck. So this is not sejarah. I know in sejarah, I don't know whether the concept, the format is still the same or not. But back then in my time, my sejarah teacher tell me that you can spend a lot of points. And as long as, let's say the question is 5 marks, you spend 10 points. And out of the 10 points, if let's say there are 6 correct points, 4 wrong points, they still give you the 5 marks one. So, but this is not sejarah. Okay, this is physics. You have to be, and especially for sciences, you have to be specific one. You cannot write correct answer, then suddenly you write wrong answer, then expecting your teacher to give you the correct one. So because like I said, science has to be very accurate. So for this one, just like I said, right, the reason is because we want to increase the velocity of the exhaust gas, right, not out of the engine nozzle, right? Because when the diameter is smaller, the air will be expelled out faster. And just now we say the reason why we want it to exhaust the gas faster is because if the gas is exhaust faster, the backward momentum create will become greater. Larger backward momentum equals to larger forward momentum. Okay, so see, this gives you 2 marks. When you choose the correct characteristic, you get 1 mark. And then when you give the correct answer, correct explanation, you get the 2nd mark. Okay, so now until here, as of now, we get 2 marks already. And like I said, after you finish, then only you draw the horizontal line to make the boundary. Okay, if your answer is longer, then draw the line lower. Okay, so you don't have to draw the line first until you finish the point, because if not, you have to erase the horizontal line again. Right now, if let's say you accidentally you draw first, and then after drawing the line, you realize you have to write longer, then you have to erase the line again and then draw again. So, and if this keep on continuing to happen, you waste a lot of time. Okay. Now, next one. So the second part in the jet engine is the propeller, and the question wants you to pick the right size. If you are the engineer or if you are the expert of the aeroplane engine, okay, if let's say you are, imagine yourself, like just like I told you, imagine yourself is the expert. So the propeller has to be big or small. Now, there's this kind of job one, in the real world. Or maybe your parents are, maybe some of your parents is doing this kind of job. It's called consultant. Consultant means that they just sit there and then people come ask them for opinions. So because they are smart, so they give good opinions to other people. Then people pay them to tell them opinions. They just sit there. Then people come ask, so the size of the propeller should be big or small. So then they say, you come and pay me first. So you pay me first, only I tell you. Then the boss will pay them, and then after paying them, then they say, okay, the size of the propeller has to be big. But of course, this one is the basic one. I mean, there's no one that don't know the propeller has to be big, right? Everyone knows the size of the propeller has to be big. But like I say, those consultants, they know even more things because they're expert at that field. So people will be willing to pay them one. So it's actually a kind of job. And in order to do this, you have to become an engineer first. You have to gain experience. So by being an expert in something, so after you being an expert, people will come ask you for opinion, and you become the consultant. You understand? So by just giving out opinions, people pay you for that. So there's this kind of job one. Okay, so if you're wondering what physics can do, what sciences can do. Okay, now, and yes, the size of the propeller has to be big. Now, it's not because there are three big options and one small option. So please don't pick based on this, because sometimes the question will do some reverse psychology. They will give you three option and then versus one option. But the correct answer is the one option one. They will do that one. So don't just go and think that, oh, the three option one must be the answer. It's just coincidentally now the big is the answer. Okay, so the size of the propeller has to be big. But any one of you know why? And do you know what's the function of propeller? So now you guys are studying. So one day you might become an expert in let's say aircraft. So when aircraft company they want to build a new engine, they come looking for your opinion. So now you're starting from the basic now. Also, big size of propeller. Propellers. Okay. So why the propeller has to be big size? It's because first you have to understand what's the function of propeller. Propeller is basically the fan blade, just like I said, right now the fan blade in front of the jet engine. Now, at home, I'm sure you have ceiling fan, right? Now ceiling fan rotating. Now, and the function of ceiling fan, we switch on ceiling fan because we want to cool down the room, right? Now, if the room is too hot, we switch on the fan, right? So and how does the fan cool down the room? Because when the fan blade rotates, it will draw the air down from top of the building, okay, at the ceiling there. So when you switch on the fan blade draw the air particle down. So when the air particle flows, now, and when there are the flows of air particle flow through you, it brings away the heat, right? Not, but most importantly, you should understand that the fan is actually drawing air particles. Drawing means like sucking the air, okay, sucking the air from the ceiling down to the floor. So because we're at the floor, so when we are at the floor, when the fan suck down the airflow at the bottom makes the room cooler. So now, like I said, most importantly, you should know that the fan is actually sucking air, it's drawing the air. Same thing to this propeller. We want propeller to draw in air, more air into the jet engine. Why? Because then we want to draw air into the combustion chamber inside the jet engine to do combustion. Now, I'm sure you learned in Form 1 before, in order to start a fire, in order to start combustion, you need oxygen. And where do we get the oxygen? We get the oxygen from the air outside, right? From the air outside, we use the fan to draw in the air into the jet engine. And because air consists of 21% of oxygen, that's where we can get oxygen for combustion. Right now, when we breathe in the air, I'm sure you also learned this in Form 1, and I think in chemistry you also learn what? Right? Out of the 100% air that you breathe in, 21% consists of oxygen. Right now, and the rest of the 78% is all nitrogen, which is not used by our body. So when we breathe in the air, 78% of nitrogen is being breathed in, but at the same time, we also breathe out 78% of nitrogen. Okay, but of course, at the same time, we also breathe out a higher percentage of carbon dioxide. Okay, but that is basically biology and chemistry already lah. Okay, back to physics. We need the oxygen for the combustion, right? Now, other than that, what else is needed in combustion in order to start a fire? So we need heat, and also we need fuel, right? Now, you need oxygen and something to burn. So the fuel is basically the oil, okay, the bahan api, right? Now, and then combined with some heat, you need temperature lah. You need the heat to start the fire. Okay, so don't worry, the heat is settled lah. They have an ignition. They have an ignition apparatus or something, a thing lah, a device to start the fire, to start a spark. Yeah, the heat basically come from the spark lah. So there will be an ignition sparking device to start a spark. And then as long as you have the oxygen and the fuel mixed together in the combustion chamber, then the fire will start. So the idea is, like I said, the propeller has to be big so that we can draw in more air. We want more air to be sucked into the combustion chamber. Okay, so big size of propeller because we want to increase the amount of gas, okay, gases draw into the combustion chamber in the engine, right? Now, because the combustion chamber is in the engine. After finish, then again, like I said, then only you draw the horizontal line. But now because the nodes already draw the line for you, right? So you don't have to do that now. Okay, and like I said, the reason why we give you the table is not because we want you to be comfortable. We give you the table because we want you to save time so we can do more exercise, don't have to wait you to draw, right? Because if I ask you to draw, then you will say, oh, teacher, wait for me, I need to draw the table first, then you waste a lot of time already, right? And then, and at the same time, we draw for you so you can get familiar with the shape, with the pattern of the table. So in the exam, you will also know how to draw lah, because you have seen it before, how to draw. Okay, the third one is the type of fuel. Anyone of you know what fuel do we use for jet engine? In jet engine, we use this kind of fuel called kerosene. Now, the kerosene, I think is spelled wrongly, if I'm not wrong. The I should be E. Let me check. Let me check. Yeah, it should be E. Kerosene, kerosene. I think IN, that one is BM answer. And your SBM will be Duolingo one. That means, sorry, that means it will be English and BM. Okay, so type of fuel, for this one, you just write now, kerosene fuel. Kerosene fuel. Okay, and why do we use kerosene fuel? Now, do you guys still remember? I think in Form 3, just last year, you learned about petroleum. Petroleum is a mixture of different liquid inside. So you have to draw out the kerosene, the petroleum, the petrol gas, the diesel by using the distillation method. Remember, because different fractions of oil, different fractions means different mixture of oil, they have different boiling point. So when you heat up the petroleum, so when it reach, let's say, the petroleum gas boiling point, then it becomes gas. So when it becomes gas, and when it rise up, because the gas will be lighter, so they will rise up, and then you condense them and collect them. So that's how you separate petroleum. Okay, so petroleum is the raw material, and like I said, petroleum is a mixture of different oil. So you have to separate them using the distillation method. You learned that in Form 3 last year. But anyway, kerosene is a fraction of petroleum. Petrol is another fraction. Okay, crude oil, we call it crude oil. Crude oil is basically the raw one. Also, we have to process it. We have to draw out the kerosene. So kerosene is being used in aeroplane because kerosene has a high combustion level. Higher combustion level due to the high carbon value in kerosene compared to petrol for cars. Okay, so for this one, kerosene, this one, you see, previously I always answer the question with increase, to increase, to decrease, like that one. See, the first two answers just now. But for this one, because we are explaining this thing on this kerosene, so I'm just gonna explain what is good about kerosene. Kerosene has high combustion level. So you can also say it then can produce large amount of energy. Or if not, this is good enough one. Or high combustion level compared to other fuel. Okay. And why is it not paraffin? Paraffin is not being combust. We don't use paraffin because paraffin has a very low combustion level one. So we use paraffin for, do you guys remember in chemistry you learned? I think this morning you also attended the chemistry seminar, right? But I'm not sure whether the chemistry teacher teach you this or not. But then I believe, because recently, I think this week, few days ago when yes, to put the metal in. Yes, correct, very good. Because that day I also saw the tutor do that, teacher Junyan. From Monday until Friday, I saw he do the experiment with the student. He put then when you want to test the reactivity of the metal, remember? I think recently you guys are learning that the sodium, potassium, and lithium, right? I also saw that he buy the sodium, lithium, I think, and also potassium. And then he said there's one very dangerous one. So he didn't do it in the class. But I don't know whether he did in the class or not. I think in one class he did. Suddenly, until a point, he burned the table. The table has a burning mark one. Because he told me that the metal jumps out of the water because too reactive already. Yes, to put the reactive metal. So we don't use paraffin. Yeah. I also saw that. You can ask him. You can ask him if you are attending his class. And then next one, hydrogen. Liquefied hydrogen is also not being used as a fuel because hydrogen is explosive. Yeah, it's in group 1. Just now we talked about the metals that you put in the paraffin, right? Those lithium, sodium, potassium. Hydrogen also is in the same group with those metals that we mentioned just now. They are all group 1 elements. Yeah, hydrogen is also group 1 element. So hydrogen is explosive. We don't put it in the engine one. But actually there is something that uses liquid hydrogen as a fuel. There's something not aeroplane, not cars, rockets. Also you can write down this is actually the fuel for rocket. Rocket uses hydrogen, liquefied hydrogen. And so that means the engine of the rocket has to be extra strong. Okay, extra because you need the engine to be able to withstand the explosiveness of the hydrogen. So the engine is another kind of engine already. It's very strong one. Also able to withstand the explosiveness of the liquefied hydrogen. But for aeroplane, we don't need such energy. So that's why. And in order to make that kind of engine is super expensive. Right? Super expensive. So we don't do that. Because aeroplane is already very expensive. Some more, if you want to make it even more expensive, then and we don't need that kind of energy also, just like I said. Okay, because it produces explosiveness means it suddenly give you a large amount of energy. But in aeroplane, we don't need a sudden large amount of energy. We just need constant big amount of energy. We need constant one, not sudden one. Okay. So anyway, so just now we discussed. That's why we pick kerosene. And when you answer the reason, you don't have to tell the question say that because kerosene is better than hydrogen. It's not comparison. Just tell why kerosene is good. Or you don't have to compare kerosene with other choices one. Okay. And then the last one, the size of the combustion chamber. Just now we discussed, right? Combustion chamber is basically the space for the engine to burn the fuel. So the space for the engine to burn the fuel has to be big, right? Because at the same time, small also can burn fuel, big also can burn fuel, but the bigger one can burn more fuel at one single combustion. That means what? That means if you can pump, if the combustion chamber is 1 liter that means you can only pump 1 liter into the 1 liter of fuel, 1 liter of kerosene into the combustion chamber, and then burn 1 liter at one time. But if the combustion chamber is 2 liter, so you can pump 2 liter of fuel into the combustion chamber, and then you can burn the 2 liter of fuel at one time. Okay, and you have to understand the fuel tank is fuel tank, and combustion chamber is combustion chamber. There's a tube that is sucking the fuel, that is drawing the fuel from the gas tank to the combustion chamber. And because there's a tube in between, right? So when you combust the fuel, the fire will go to the gas tank. So that's why there's a valve one. So there's a valve sucking the liquid, sucking the kerosene from the gas tank to the combustion chamber. Then the valve will close. So then start the combustion. After finish, then when the pressure here is low, then the valve will open and then allowing the kerosene to go to the combustion chamber again. Okay, so the combustion is like you pump the fuel to the combustion chamber from the gas tank to the combustion chamber, close, burn, finish, stop, then only the fuel, the valve will open again, and then the gas tank continue to pump the fuel back to the combustion chamber, and then close again, burn again, stop again, then only pump again. So it's like one time the combustion happens in stages one, like stage one, then burn, finish, then another stage, finish, then another stage, like that one. So that's why over here, we want the size of the combustion chamber to be big, the big size. And you don't even have to think, I mean, you don't have to think how to write your sentence one in point form. You don't even have to write a complete sentence. Then you just have to think whether it is big or small. And once you know the answer is big, right, then just write big in front of the characteristic and big size of combustion chamber. Like this, the big size of combustion chamber. And just now, as I explained, because if the size of the combustion chamber, this will be able to increase the amount of fuel combust at one single combustion. That means one combustion, one time can burn more fuel, right? So now, as of now, I would like to ask you all a simple question. Now, can you all tell me how many marks have we been getting here? How many marks so far we have get? We have get 8 marks, correct? Okay, so then you can see here, 4 red color points. So the red color points are the choice that we make for the characteristic, for the parts of the engine. And then another 4 more points for the explanation, right? So in total, until now, we only get 8 marks. But remember just now I told you, in essay questions, how many marks are there? Total, a complete essay questions consists of 10 marks. So now you are getting 8 marks out of the 10 marks. That means we have to go and pick we have to go and take the another 2 more marks, right or not? So the another 2 more marks come from the final choice. Then over here, final choice. So based on all the discussion just now, okay, we have discussed on the diameter of the nozzle has to be small, the size of the propeller has to be big, the fuel has to be kerosene fuel, and the combustion chamber has to be big. And so do you see there's a jet engine, there is a jet engine that has all the good characteristic one. So yes, it's the jet engine L, right? Not L, correct? Then this one. And you can see other engines, right? Like engine K. Engine K only have one good characteristic. Engine J and M, they both have 2 good characteristics. But engine L has all the good characteristics. And that's why you choose jet engine L, right? Not like I said, so you don't choose jet engine L because you want jet engine L. It's because after you discuss all the good characteristics, then you realize that jet engine L fulfill all the good characteristics. That's why you pick jet engine L. Okay, so over here, the last one, we have the jet engine L. Okay, we pick up. So your final choice. Oh, and also by the way, if you realize, right? Okay, hold up. Jet engine design L. And if you realize, actually the line in the middle, it is not extended until the last column one. The last row, sorry, not last column, the last row. Then the last row, we don't have any middle line in the between one. So for others, then see just now we draw a middle line in the between, right? In between the aspect and the reason. But for the last row, we don't need to do that because you can just continue your explanation. Okay, right? This, then your choice, and then continue your explanation, because then you can just write in a complete sentence already. So, and because of what? Now, for this one, the last mark, okay, until here, as of now, then I got 9 marks after I picked the jet engine L, right? The jet engine design L. After you pick that, you get 9 marks. So the last mark, okay, it comes from very complicated, I mean, not complicated, you have to very tedious. You have to do a lot of things, but the task is actually very simple. You just have to copy all the answer that you have answered just now, that all the aspects all over again. Then again, just now I explained to you, right? Why do we pick the jet engine design L? It's all because jet engine L has fulfilled all the good characteristic, right? Not so just repeat them again and explain why you choose jet engine L. So just now you are not explaining the jet engine L design. You are explaining just not the first 4 points, the first 8 points, you are explaining what should be a good characteristic for the jet engine. Then because jet engine L fulfill all those characteristics, that's why you pick jet engine L. Right now, because then it has, so now only then you explain because it has a small diameter of nozzle, comma, and repeat everything again. So it's tedious, but it's not that hard also lah. Because as long as you can explain the first 8 points, then you should get all the good characteristic already ma. Then just continue to write that, copy them into one answer, then you will get the marks for the final marks, for the 10th marks. So big size of propeller, comma, and then uses kerosene fuel, right? Not that's why you pick jet engine design L, and then last but not least, it has a big size of combustion chamber. Yeah. So by writing this is how you get all the marks, 10 mark for the essay questions. Okay, but of course 10 mark provided everything is correct If you write something wrong also, the marks will be deducted. Okay, any questions until here? Before I continue to the next question? Nope. Okay, good. So make sure you guys get familiar of how to answer. I believe, like I said, your school teacher will also teach you one. So you just have to pay attention to the class, because it's okay even if your school teacher teach you, or if I teach you, or if your school teacher haven't teach you. But now you attended my class, now you know, right? But later, when you go back to your school teacher, if they haven't teach you, they will teach you, and pay attention because there's no harm on learning the same thing twice. Sometimes you get something new by learning the same thing twice, or even 3 times, 4 times. Multiple times, every time when you learn something, when you learn the same thing, right, you get different insight, or you get different understanding from the learning one. Okay, so there's no harm. Now then let us continue and finish this question. Then quickly we do another one more questions. So at least we do 2 questions. Now the next question says the rocket in the diagram below 11.3 is moving at a constant height of 3,000 feet. I believe that 3,000 feet is a useless information, because remember in our physics from 4 from 5, we are not going to learn any imperial unit. So feet is an imperial unit. So in our syllabus, in our country, Malaysia, we follow SI unit system. That means the standard international unit system. But in UK, if let's say in the future you go to UK, you have to learn all this imperial unit again one. So if your university, you are taking physics and you are going to UK school or United Kingdom school. So if you are going to UK school, they will ask you to, not they will ask you all the units in the physics, they use the imperial units one. They use feet, inch, and miles. Okay, instead of using km, they use miles. Right? In our country, we use km all the time, right? We never use miles, right? You never see in the signboard says, the next press station is 10 miles away. You never see that one. But in UK, you will see that all the time. And then, like for example, in Malaysia, our weighing system, we use kg, right? The mass, and then they use pounds. So it's different all the units. And 1 pound is not equals to 1 kg. And if you ask me, 1 feet is equals to how many meter? I forgot. So it's okay, because like I said, it's not in our syllabus, and that's why I say it's useless information. Okay, just to remind you. So if you see any imperial units, don't panic. Most likely they are not going to use it one. Okay, most likely 99.9%. But the 0.01%, I keep it first. I don't want to be so sure. Later you say but I never seen in my life before. so many years of teaching physics, I have never seen any question asking you to use the imperial units. Okay. Anyway, you can look at the next question. Then the question says, the rocket will push out 100 kg of mass of exhaust gas. Right? The rocket pushes out exhaust gas of 100 kg mass and within 1 second. That means every second, 100 kg of mass is being, 100 kg of gas, mass of gas is being pushed out of the rocket engine, the nozzle there, and with a speed of 200 meters per second. So all these are the information. And so question asks, on the diagram 11.3, mark and name the two forces acting on the rocket. So exhaust gas, expelling gas, yes, it produces a force. I mean, it don't really produce a force, it produces a momentum. Yeah, and then it gains a forward momentum for the rocket, right? So the rocket is able to move forward is also because there's a force pushing it forward. So the force that is pushing the rocket forward is called forward thrust, or you can also call it the engine thrust, or call it thrust force also can. Forward thrust. Okay, the thrust force pushing the rocket forward. Okay, forward thrust. Like this. And then, so according to Newton's third law of motion, remember that for chapter 2, that time, chapter 2, we learned about in Newton's second law of motion, this law stated that whenever a force is produced, there will be an opposite force, right or not? And this opposite force is known as the air friction, or you can also call it the air resistance. Air friction or air resistance acting on the rocket to slow down, to drag the rocket to become slower. Also, this air friction will drag the rocket to make it slower. Okay, air friction. So that's it. You answer the question one already, after you mark the arrow and also name the forces. Clear? Then the number 2 question asks you to calculate the momentum of the rocket acting backward. So according to the diagram, you can see the exhaust gas is being acting towards the back side of the engine. So we are going to calculate the momentum of the gas expelled out from the rocket. And remember or not, the symbol of momentum is a letter P, small letter P right? So please make sure you remember that. And then we are going to use mass times velocity of the airflow, the mass of the gas, and also the velocity of the gas flow, right? So the mass of the gas given by the question is 100 kg, and the velocity of the gas moving backward is given by the question as well, is 200 meters per second. So 100 multiplied by 200, it gives you 20,000. Right now, 20,000, but don't forget to include unit. I've been telling you this in normal class. Please remember to remind yourself all the time, no matter what you calculate in physics, until now, everything you calculate in from chapter 2 and chapter 1, everything has unit. Okay, and the unit of momentum should be kg meter per second. Do you still remember how we can remember this? No need to memorize. As long as you remember the formula, right, you will remember the unit one. That because just now you were using 100 kg multiplied by 200 meters per second. And because they multiply each other, so just combine their unit together. Kg meter per second, combine become kg meter per second. Okay. Last one, question asked, so what is the momentum acting on the rocket to the forward direction? According to the principle of conservation of momentum, in this explosion case, when an object is producing a backward momentum, it gains the same forward momentum. So the magnitude should be the same exactly. So this question is basically testing you to see whether you know or not. And because there's no value for you to calculate one, you don't even know the mass of the rocket. Right not? Because the rocket is moving forward. So do you know the mass of the rocket? No. Do you know the speed of the rocket moving forward? No, you don't know. Right not? So if you don't know the mass of the rocket, you don't know how fast the rocket is moving forward. There's no way you can calculate the momentum. But like I said, according to the Newton's third law of motion, not the Newton's third law, the principle of conservation of momentum, the backward momentum acting on the object is equal to the forward momentum. So they should have the same magnitude. Okay? Done? Done. Then we move on to the next question. So we still got about 25 to 30 minutes. Okay. Can one? We can actually do faster for other questions. Now, just now we take some time to explain the question because you haven't learned. I mean, I assume some of you have some of you, of course, I know you learned how to do the essay question already, but because like I said, today my focus is to slow down and explain how you can do the essay questions because I'm teaching how to do essay questions for those who don't know. Okay, and that's why we use some time just now. Okay, so for the rest of the half an hour, now let us quickly go to the previous question, one question before. On page number 14, question number 5. Page number 14, question number 5. All right. So this question, then remember just now I said, make it a good habit. Always remind yourself, you try to understand the question first. After understanding, try to think whether this question is from which subtopic. You think, but let us look at the question first. So over here, question number 5 says, diagram 9.1 shows a pole vault athlete jumps over a bar. So this is the pole vault athlete. So this is the pole vault. So the athlete will use the pole vault to bounce him over a very tall bar. So, and then the question says, the position J, K, L, M, and O shows the series of jump, which means the action of the athlete at different position, and also different style, different position. Okay, so J, K, L is the athlete still on the ground, and then M, N, O, M, N is basically the athlete in the air, and then O is basically where the athlete falls to the mattress. Right? And then the question says, the athlete undergoes a free fall starting from position M. And then after that, like I said, before we look at the question, can you guys recognize this question is from which subtopic? I mean, you don't have to tell me the number because even if you ask me, right, I don't remember the number also. But you can tell me the title of the subtopic. Okay, hold up. My iPad is lagged. Okay. Need some time to load. There. Lag already. Okay, go back to question number 5, there over here. So do you guys remember this question is from which subtopic? This question is from that subtopic called the linear motion. Remember, linear motion means the movement of an object moving in straight line, but this one is the vertical one. When something falls, the object moves in a straight line vertically. So it's the vertical linear motion questions. Remember that time when I teach you the linear motion? Yes, free fall motion also consider, yes. Free fall motion, but free fall motion is under linear motion, straight line movement, right? Not? And this question also consists of, I mean, you haven't seen it yet, but can you see at the position O of the athlete? The athlete at position O, the athlete is falling onto the mattress, right? When the athlete falls, there will be impact. Right now, there will be impact. So there will be a collision in between the athlete and the mattress. So this one will also be related to impulsive force one. They combine two subtopics into one questions. These two subtopics, both from chapter 2. Okay, so be prepared to see these kind of questions where they mix two different subtopics into one questions. Okay, then at the end there later you will see one. They didn't ask you to calculate impulsive force, but in the essay they ask you that the size and the thickness of the mattress. Remember last time when we discussed, we said the mattress had to be thick so that it can absorb the impulsive force. It can reduce the impulsive force. Okay, but first let us answer this question. Question asks, what is the meaning of free fall? So remember that we discussed before, free fall is a falling motion of an object falling under the effect of gravity. And then remember the keyword I asked you to remember, that you have to write only. You can't just say, oh, the object falls under the effect of gravity, full stop. No, not complete. You have to write only also. That means solely, only gravity affecting the object to fall down. Okay, only. Now, Like for example, if my calculator is falling, yes, my calculator is also falling due to the effect of gravity. But meanwhile, there's actually another external force acting on the calculator, which is the air particles that causes the air friction acting on my calculator. And because my calculator has a surface, so when it falls down, the area of the surface area of the calculator will be affected by the air resistance. So then this is not considered as free fall already. Okay, and if the question says, consider now the athlete is undergoing free fall motion, that means we are considering, we are assuming there's no air particle, no air particle. But which is not true but it's just an assumption. Okay, it's just an assumption. In real life, we don't have free fall condition because free fall has to be conducted. If you want to conduct something, I mean, if you want to let something to fall under free fall motion, you have to suck out all the air around it. But then there's no way the athlete be in a vacuum condition, right? If you put the athlete in the vacuum condition, then the athlete will die also. No air particle. Anyway, but it's just question. Okay, it's just question. So like I said, this is just an assumption. The question asks you to assume that, let's say when the athlete is falling, you are assuming there's no air particles causing the air resistance acting on the athlete. Clear? Yeah, it's just assumption. Now then the next one, B. Now B question tells you that the athlete takes 2 seconds to fall from position N to O. And the first question asks, what is the acceleration of the athlete when the athlete is at position N? N is in mid-air, right? Not? If you look at the diagram, the position N of the athlete is in the mid-air, middle of the air there. So, and when the when the athlete is falling in the mid-air, the acceleration of the object falling in mid-air, right, will be 9.81 meter per second square. 9.81 meter per second square. This will be the acceleration of the athlete. Is that clear? Previously we discussed and this gravitational acceleration, this 9.81, it only occurs when there's no air particles, when there's no air resistance acting on it. But like I said, is a perfect condition where it doesn't happen in our real life. And remember, do you remember that these few months, these few weeks, not few months, these 2 weeks, we just only learned this formula, the gravitational acceleration. Okay. Now then the next one, the question asks you to calculate the velocity of the athlete just before he falls onto the mattress. Because if he drop onto the mattress, then of course the speed will become 0. So that's why the question is asking you to calculate the speed of the athlete before the moment he drops onto the mattress, which is the final velocity. And if it's the final velocity, then we just have to label then remember we put down the SUVAT. We are doing the linear motion equation calculations. Okay? And that's why I tell you just now, this question is related to linear motion. And you can go to page number 1, that means the first page. Now in the first page there, you should see the 4 linear motion equation. Now, let me go there and show you. Okay? Page number 1, these 4 formulas. Have you guys memorized? Ever since last year, during December when the holiday class started, I told you that in this term, which is now coming soon, your this term exam will not be giving you these 4 formulas unless your teacher give you. But I can tell you, most of the school teacher, they don't give one because they want you to test you whether you know all these 4 formulas or not. Okay, so never mind. Let's look at, I'm just reminding you. Now, and do you guys still remember which one to pick? Because there are 4 formulas. So in order to know which one to pick, you have to fill in this list first. Right now, it's a list, that SUVAT. Fill in all the information according into the list. And that over here, the V is the final velocity, is the unknown that the question wants you to find. So we put a question mark beside the unknown. And then we go back to the first one. Okay, so after you put the question mark beside the unknown, the question asks you to find the final velocity, right? Then you go back to this list to see the first one. For example, S is the displacement, right? So for displacement, you go and read the question, you will realize that there's no displacement because you don't know how tall is the pole. This pole, not this pole. There are two poles here. One is the pole vault, the one that support the athlete to throw the athlete upward. Another one is the barrier pole. Okay, the one you set the record on the height of the jump. That pole, the another pole. So because you don't know how tall is the pole, so you don't know the distance, you don't know the height of the athlete falling down. Yes, so and because if you know that the question don't give you the displacement, according to the four formulas just now I show you in page number 1, you have to pick the one that has no displacement. So the formula that has no displacement is V equals to U plus A times T, correct? So that's how we pick the formula. Based on what information we don't have, we pick the formula. And the U will be 0, assuming, because now over here the question didn't tell you what is the speed of the athlete at position M. M is basically the starting position of the fall, right? The falling starts from M, because the question says that the athlete starts to fall from M. So starting from M, only the athlete starts to fall. Okay, and remember we discussed this before. M, if the athlete starts to fall at M means that is basically the highest position. When the object reaches the highest position, there's actually a slight moment, a very short moment, the object is actually stopped. And at that time I use any object, I forgot which one I used, but calculator is a good example. When I throw my calculator up, see, I will throw it up with a speed because I am applying force onto the calculator. So I throw the calculator up with a speed. But as it goes up, it becomes slower and slower because the gravity is pulling it down. But while I throw it up, gravity pulling it down, it becomes slower until the highest position. And there's a slight moment, a short moment, the object actually stops and then only turns direction, continue to fall down due to the gravity. So that's why, remember, whenever object reaches the maximum height, the speed there will be 0, 1. And that is basically the starting of the fall. Starting speed of the fall is going to be 0, stop. Right? And then the acceleration is 9.81. Okay, 9.81. And then the time taken will be 2 seconds. That question says, the athlete will take 2 seconds to fall. And so now we have enough information to apply to calculate the final velocity. V equals to 0 plus 2 times, 9.81 times 2. The acceleration is 9.81. The time taken is 2 seconds. So the final velocity of the athlete before it falls onto the mattress is 19.62 seconds. Not seconds, meter per second. Okay, 19.62 meter per second. Now, the next question is actually almost the same thing. You just have to, this one, substitute all the fill in the SUVAT list. Okay, the same thing now. But only difference is this time the question asks you to find the height. So we put the question mark there because the question mark is the unknown of the question mark. So height is basically the distance of the athlete falling from the highest point to the mattress. So the distance. And previously, in the previous question, we already calculate the final velocity to be 19.62, right? But let me advise you, we will continue to assume that we don't have this value. Why? Because if you really want to use this value, there's nothing wrong, but provided that this answer must be correct. If this answer is wrong, you carry this error forward, then of course the answer you calculate, right, will also be wrong. And remember, in order to ease, that means in order to make it easier for us to pick the formula, we need a missing information. Right? So it's okay to be incomplete, to have incomplete information. Yes, we are going to pick the one S equals to U times T times plus 1 over 2 times A times T squared. So please make sure you remember the 4 formulas. Okay, memorize the 4 formulas because you cannot refer back to page number 1 in the exam anymore. In exam, no page number 1. There's no formula paper for you to refer. But if you have, that's a bonus. Okay, some school teacher, they will give. So S, but I can tell you most likely is not going to be given one. But of course, if you want to know whether given or not, ask your school teacher. because different school, different teacher ma. Like I said, some teacher give, some teacher don't give. So if you want to know whether your school teacher give or not, of course you don't ask me ma. I don't know your school teacher also. So you have to ask your school teacher no? Okay, so 9.81, then t square, that is 2 square over here. So, and you will realize, right, the answer is the same as the value we get just now lah. So, but then that one just now, the 19.62 is the speed of the athlete before it falls to the ground. But this one is the height of where the the height of the athlete fall down from the highest point at the pole there to the mattress. 19.62 meter also. But you know 19.62 meter is a bit unrealistic lah. You know 19.62 meter, if you convert it into floors, it is 6.5 floors above. That means he's falling down from 6.5 floors. I mean, there's no such pole vaulter jumping to such height lah. Okay, you can go and see let me go and find world record of this pole vault man. How many meters? Oh, I mean, oh yeah. I thought 16. No, it's not 16. It's 6.31 meter. World record. So this is far beyond world record. But yeah lah, sometimes okay, so world record. So sometimes you will see some questions in the exam they give you, and also sometimes exercise lah. After you get the answer, it might be a bit unrealistic, but sometimes it's like that one. Okay, sometimes it's like that one. So just have a laugh at it, then just skip. Okay, I don't need to waste time go and because you don't have to spend time go and think whether is it really that answer. If you think it is, then it is lah. As long as you use the correct way lah. Don't spend too much time go and wonder whether it is real or not lah. Like I said, sometimes it can be unrealistic. Okay, this is sixth floor. Sixth floor is if someone fall down from sixth floor, that someone, even though there's mattress, the injuries can be heavy also. Okay, next one. Anyway, next question C. Question C then says, diagram 9.2 shows a feather and an iron ball are dropped in a container containing air, and another one. So you carry out this experiment 2 times lah. One in the container containing air and another one in a vacuum container. So very simple lah. It's actually the same container. So you just do this experiment twice. One with the normal air inside, another one you suck out all the air. So that's why it will be vacuum. Then the question asks you to explain the observation, means you have to write down the observation first yourself because there's no observation given here. Right? Not the question never say what's the observation. So you have to write down your own observation, but there's nothing for you to observe also. Right? Not because you have because the diagram shows the iron ball and the feather is at the same position. So you have to know what happens. Also, no experiment, but you have to imagine, and based on your knowledge, you have to write down your own observation, okay, and then explain what you see. So over here, it is supposed to be a 4 marks question. I think the printing there just now, I mean during the printing, the PDF versions don't know move the 4 marks to where already. Suppose that time when I do this question, I remember there's a 4 marks beside the question. But never mind. Like I said, I remember that it's a 4 marks question. So over here, this is what you're gonna do lah. You can say in the container filled with air, right? Not what happens? The iron ball will fall faster, right? Not than the feather, right? So you get 1 mark by telling the observation. And then you have to explain why is that. Okay, why is the iron ball falling faster than the feather? Because in the air, in the container filled with air, what happens? Because there are air resistance acting on the feather, right? Not and I mean, okay, instead of saying there are air resistance or you can say because the air resistance acting on the feather is greater than on the iron ball. Okay, and also because of the weight of the iron ball is greater than the air resistance, so the difference is larger. So the resultant force pulling the iron ball down is greater than the feather. But in the vacuum container, right? Not in the vacuum container, the feather and the iron ball. Now this experiment, I show you the video right now. That time in the class, I purposely go to find. Oh, larger surface area can, but the ultimate reason is because of the air resistance. And because the large surface area causes the larger air resistance acting on the feather. So it's better we write the ultimate one, the ultimate reason. Okay. Yes, large surface area, because large surface area then causes more air resistance acting on the feather. Yeah. Now for this one, another one in the vacuum container. So instead of saying the container filled with air, now in the vacuum container, the iron ball falls at the same rate. Right now. Sorry. It will fall with the same time as the feather. Okay, they fall at the same time. They fall with the same speed. They reach the ground at the same time. Because what? Because the air resistance acting on the feather is the same as on the iron ball. It's the same as the same as on iron ball. I think same as iron ball. Can. Okay, so the air resistance acting on the feather is the same as iron ball. So that's why the time taken will be the same. And because in the vacuum, there is no air resistance, and these two objects will be only falling under the effect of gravity, which is what we know as the free fall, right now. So free fall, no air resistance, they only falls under the effect of gravity. No other external force is acting on the system. Now, but then in the previous case, where the container has air particles the air resistance is basically the external force that interfere with the movement. So that's why feather falls lower. We good? Okay, it's 4 o'clock, but then let us finish question D. That only we end. Question D is the last question already. Okay, so give me some time. Let me help you to do this essay question. Let us discuss together. So then we can at least help you out to do another one more questions. Now, and let us look at question D. Question says diagram 2.16 shows apparatus for high jump event. So this is a high jump event for the school sports day. Okay, and you can see there's most importantly is the pole, and then there's the mattress after the pole, right? After the athlete jump over the pole, the athlete will fall under, on the mattress. So the question says you are required to give some suggestions to ensure the safety and the comfort. The important thing here is to ensure the safety and so that it is comfortable for the athlete to jump, okay, after the pole, and then fall on the mattress, so to be safe and by doing some modification there. Same thing. Every time my essay is like you have to treat yourself, you have to imagine yourself as a expert, as an expert, so that you give opinion, so that to improve the whole thing. That's how essay works. And question says, using your knowledge on forces and motion and the properties of material, explain your suggestions based on the following aspect. Yeah, over here, can you see that this essay question is a bit different from the essay question just now? Just now in the essay questions we did, it has table and it gives you the choice for the aspect. Now over here, they only give you the aspect. You have to think of the choice. So like for example, the size, you have to think the size has to be big or small, thickness, whether you want it to be thicker or thinner, elasticity of the mattress, high or low. So all this is a bit different from the table one. Table one, they give you the choice, but this one they don't. So there are two types of essay. And there's actually an even harder one, the third type, which is they don't even give you the aspect. So it's like you think freely. Anything you can think of, you just write. That one is the hardest one. Where they don't even give you the aspect. They just say, think yourself. They just tell you the answer until here. Some modification. They say, some modification, but they don't tell you what modification you should make. Then you have to look at the diagram yourself, and of course think of yourself. See the labeling, see the bar, see the mattress, whatever they label for you, just modify that. Okay, so that one is even harder, but I don't think your first term exam they will give you that. But along the class, along our normal class, we will see sometimes sometimes you will see that. So you have the choice one, the simplest one. Second, then you have this the one they give you the aspect, but they don't give you the choice. But I think these two is quite similar lah. Consider as easy one lah. The one that they don't even give you the aspect one is the hardest one. Okay. So and over here, let's write the same thing like just now I say, right? On the top left column, we write aspect. The top left space there, we write aspect, and sometimes we write characteristic lah. Depends on whether the question says aspect or characteristic lah. Okay, just follow the question. And then on the top right, then we write reasons, because for every choices of aspect you make, you have to explain the reason why you pick that. Okay, reason. Now then, come, let's discuss the first one, the size of the mattress. Of course, we want it to be big, right? Now, big size of mattress, because if it's big size, the athlete can fall more safely onto the mattress. Right now, if the mattress is small, the athlete cannot focus on the jump only. Other than the jump, the athlete also have to focus where he has to fall. Right now, but high jump is meant to focus on the jump, not the fall. So that's why, of course, we want the mattress to be as big as possible, right? Big size of mattress, so that it covers a larger area for the athlete to fall onto, right? Not so to increase the surface area, to increase the surface area of the landing of athlete, right? Not so that the athlete has more surface area to fall, which is safe for him to fall, him or her. Okay. Then next one, we have the thickness of the mattress. The thickness, we want it to be as thick as possible, right? So you say thickness. Or if you don't know what word to use, like for example, thick, you cannot say high thickness one. I mean, it's a bit weird to say high thickness of mattress. So if you, in that kind of case, when you don't know what word to describe the characteristic, if you don't know what word to use to describe the characteristic, then you can use increase or decrease, also can. Okay, instead of using like the word to describe, you can also use increase or decrease, right? But if you know, then you can just use the word thickness of mattress. Okay, because don't go and force yourself to use some not suitable word. Sometimes our teacher will deduct the marks, or teacher won't give you the marks one if you use the wrong descriptions of the word. Okay, so you lose mark there one. Also try to avoid that. All right, and the reason why we want to increase the thickness is because we want to reduce the impulsive force acting on the athlete, right? Now, when the athlete falls on the mattress. Okay, full stop. So that's the reason why we want to choose a thickness, right? Then the right side, then just now we look at the first one. The first one already gives us two aspects. So we go to look at the second one, the elasticity of the mattress. Now, elasticity means the bounciness, right? Now, so of course we want the elasticity to be as high as possible, so that it becomes as bouncy as possible. Very bouncy. Okay, so over here we say high elasticity. The word to describe elasticity is high and low. We don't say big elasticity. We don't say small elasticity. We say high elasticity one. Okay, of the mattress. But do you guys know why we choose high elasticity of mattress? You know the reason is actually the same as the one before. Now, there's another thing I have to share with you guys also before we end the class. This thing is also a very, how to say, a very arguable thing. You know, in school, your school teacher will tell you you cannot write the same explanation one. Even though this is the explanation, we want the elasticity of the mattress. Just like I tell you, right, elasticity means the bounciness. So if the elasticity is high, right, the impulsive force acting on the athlete when the athlete fall on the mattress will be reduced one, because it bounce. So it reduces the impulsive force. But then even though the reason is the same, but I'm sure your school teacher, if your school teacher teach you already, I think they will tell you say that you cannot repeat the same reason. Oh yes, okay, good. If your teacher says can, then can. Yes, that's what I'm going to tell you. If your teacher say can, that means can. All right. In case if your teacher say cannot, now here's what I'm going to teach you also. You can also challenge yourself. Like if your teacher say can, you can also challenge yourself writing another answer. So I teach you a technique. Okay. Now, but then before that, let's talk about SPM format. SPM marking scheme actually also says can. Yeah, your teacher say can because SPM format can. So in my opinion, I also accept if I am your teacher, but the thing is if but I am not your physics teacher. So you always have to go back to your physics teacher at school to see whether they accept this thing or not. Okay, so if your school, and I can tell you on 95%, I mean this 95% I simply made up one, but more that means most of the teacher they actually don't accept one. Okay, but how? How can we write another answer if your teacher don't accept? Let me teach you this technique. So which is you try to write down the formula of the term, of the thing that you're explaining. Right? You are explaining impulsive force, right? And do you guys still remember how to calculate impulsive force? The other day, I think 3 weeks ago, I think last month, I think not last month, I think it's this month, but it was just 3 weeks ago. No, last month, in February, this month, we learned about how to calculate impulsive force. It's by using the mass times velocity, which means which gives you the final momentum minus the initial momentum, then divide by time. Right not? And remember just now I was talking about the elasticity, meaning that it is the bounciness. So if the elasticity increase, the impulsive force decrease, and that's because the time of impact will be increased. And do you guys remember that time I tell you the time of impact is basically the time taken, the time measured from the moment when the athlete touches the athlete touches the mattress, the moment when the athlete falls onto the mattress, hit the mattress, and then the bounce, right, until the bounce stopped. So that's basically where the time is being measured. From the moment athlete fall onto the mattress, hit the mattress, then start measuring until then the mattress start to bounce, right? Until the bounce stop. So basically, if the elasticity increase, that means the bounciness increase, right? Not, and if the mattress bounce, then it will take a longer time for the time of collision will become longer. And when the time of collision become longer, the impulsive force becomes lower, right? The impulsive force then become lower. So instead of saying reduce impulsive force, just like I said, if your school teacher say cannot write the same explanation one, then instead of saying you want to reduce impulsive force, you can also say to increase the collision time. All right, the time of collision also can. It's called the time of collision when the athlete falls onto the mattress. So it's actually the same thing. When you increase the time of collision increase the time of collision, the impulsive force is reduced. But this one, impulsive force reduced. So can you see the point? They are basically two different answers, but they are both explaining the same thing. So this is the technique. But like I said, in order to know this technique, you have to be familiar with the formula. Okay. Yeah, and then third one, okay, the fourth one, which is the third aspect, which is our fourth answer here. Moving on to the next one, material of the bar. Now, material, suppose you have to give a type of material, like for example, aluminium, copper, but then that is when question gives you a table. So like for example, that just now the question asks, what type of fuel? Kerosene, paraffin, liquefied hydrogen. They give you choice, right? So of course that one will be simple. Just choose which one is the correct one. But if not, like for example, the question asks for material, you don't really have to give a name of the material one. You can give the characteristic of the material. So you can say low density material of the pole. Now this pole is not the pole vault of the bar. This bar is the one on top over here. Okay, so this one, not pole, it's called bar. So low density, why? Because low density material will be lighter in mass, light mass. So, or you can, this one you can say to reduce the mass of the pole. The mass of the pole has to be small. Okay, so if it's too heavy, it falls anyway. It it won't fall anyway lah. It will fall more easily. So in order to make it stay on top there, better lah to fix that in place. Better we use the light one so that it doesn't fall easily. Right, last one, the attire of the high jump contestant. So the high jump contestant should wear. Now, many of times, students always tend to tell me very nonsense answer one. So please don't write this. You can have a laugh at it, but then never write this answer. Don't go and write Nike, Adidas. So I want to wear Nike, Adidas. But you try lah if you want to see what your teacher see whether your teacher give you the mark. I mean, confirm your teacher don't give you the mark one. Yes, tight attire. So why tight attire? It's because before the student jump, okay, before the athlete jump, the athlete will run at the speed. So of course, we want the athlete to run at a faster speed because the speed rate will be converted into the force of jumping. So the faster speed of athlete reach, the highest, the faster the maximum speed of the pole, I mean not the pole, the high jumper reach. So the larger the force he is able to produce to jump over the bar. So of course if he want to reach a higher speed, then he has to wear a tight attire, because if he wear a very big and a very big attire lah, okay, so unfit one so if it's a big one, then the surface area of his body, of the clothing, in contact with the air resistance becomes larger. So if more air contact, more air resistance, then it slows down the high jumper, right? Now it slows down the athlete. So that's why we want the athlete to wear a tight attire lah. Yes, so tight clothing, tight attire. Tight attire. Okay, not tired, attire of the high jump contestant. So remember I told you, you just have to think the characteristic and what to write, just copy only lah. Attire of high jump contestant, then I just add another word in front only. Attire of high jump contestant, tight. Okay, so and the reason is because to reduce the air resistance, just like I said, if the shirt is too big, it increases the surface area, and when the surface area increase, more air resistance is acting on the high jump contestant. Okay, to reduce the air resistance acting on the high jump contestant. Okay, now before I end, that's pretty much I want to share with you guys. But remember, just like I told you also, this type of question is called essay question. But nowadays we are not writing any essay. Now it's called essay because last time you really have to write paragraph one. So now they change it to point form, that you just have to write it in point form into tables. But they still remain the name, still call it essay questions. So that means last time you have to write, for example, first the athlete have to write, the setup of you have to write the complete sentence. The setup of the high jump event mattress has to be big size, because you have to write a sentence one. You have to write a sentence and in paragraph one. But nowadays they change because teacher and student, they both don't like it. Now teacher don't like it because some student, their wording, the word they write is very big and ugly. I mean small and ugly. So and when student write ugly writing, ugly writing, yes, writings, the writing is ugly, then and some more is written in a paragraph, it's even harder to read because everything lumped together, right? Everything linked together, then teacher cannot find the point. And after teacher cannot find the point, then and actually maybe the student write the point, but the word is too ugly, the writing is too ugly, so the teacher cannot find the point. So after giving back the paper, then the student will go and see the teacher and say, oh teacher, I actually write the point here. Then it causes a lot of misunderstanding, right? So that's why teacher themselves also don't like the paragraph style. And student also don't like, because you have to write a complete sentence, and it wastes time. Remember I said, because when you write a paragraph, you have to write all the connecting words, like for example, therefore, next, then, all these words is unnecessary, right? Now it's basically English grammar, but we are now learning physics, so we don't really focus on English grammar. Okay, but like I said, nowadays we don't have to do that. We just have to draw the table and write the answer in point form. Yeah, but we still remain the name as essay question. Fun fact. Okay. So anyway, thank you for joining the class. I hope that this class can help you all to understand better about the format of exam and also your essay questions format. Hopefully it helps in also the revision. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. So I will see you guys next week in the normal class, and that's it for today. Okay, have a good rest. I will see you next week. Bye bye.